So what your plan? What do you like to raise during the virtual meeting?
Well, next week we have this meeting, the virtual meeting for the first time with the leaders. As many of you know, this year Vietnam is the chair, so it's going to be a lot of discussion will come from Vietnam. Every one of us will be sitting in our own country, and so I will participate in this meeting also. But luckily, I don't have to. I don't have to talk much.
Yeah, so you'll be joining from Thailand.
Right.
Via virtual online.
Right.
This is the first time, right, that ASEAN Summit is held virtually.
Yeah, in fact, with the leaders, the first time.
Yeah.
We've done virtual meeting with the economic ministers and a few other groups.
Is it okay? I mean, doing things virtually, can it substitute?
It's better than nothing.
Meetings?
It's better than nothing, but I don't like the setup because it's you don't see the person that you're talking to, and it's
interaction is not always there.
It's a bit more difficult, I think. Sometimes you want to say a few more things, but since you're so far away, forget it. So but it's okay. It's you can get your points across. And I think it's better than nothing, I guess.
Yeah, better than nothing. So what's particular point that you would like to pay attention to from business community this time?
Well, what's going to happen is this. I think the ASEAN Business Advisory Council members are saying that this is the time where we need to advise the leaders to come up with something. Maybe a special, we call it special council to work on the COVID-19, post-pandemic COVID-19. There are a lot of things that I think the ASEAN Business Advisory Councils have recommended to the leaders, but many items haven't been implemented to the liking of our council. But this time is different because it's COVID-19. I think what we need to be doing is to make sure that we can handle post-COVID-19. Otherwise, this is going to be a tough, period for us to work with, the economy.
So, what is your biggest concern among the business community people?
I guess the biggest concern is for the SMEs, or let me include micro, which is MSME.
Okay.
They find it difficult.
Same problem in every ASEAN country.
It's the same, because in every ASEAN country you have MSME or SME enterprises as the backbone. And these people, if they cannot function, this is going to be tough for the economy. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that we take care, put the safety nets for MSMEs. And this is something that it's going to be included in our recommendation. But first thing that we want the leaders and the government of ASEAN to do is to ensure that we can have mass testing. Mass testing is important, and that's something that we need to be cooperating with not only the government but the private sector. We need to, I guess, promote ASEAN standards of production of masks, PPEs, medical equipment, testing facilities, and make sure that we can get the vaccine. I think right now we have I understand that we have about 150 prototype vaccines.
Yeah, as a candidate.
Many people are claiming that we're almost there.
Okay.
But I think it is now. I think it is time, hopefully, to decide how and what we're going to do. We need to help each other. We need to be working together to ensure regional reach for COVID-19 when it becomes available.
So far, and how has COVID-19 has become like the new direction or new shaper for new normal among ASEAN community?
You talk about new normal, and everybody's seen, wearing masks, social distancing, wash your hands,
Yes.
work at home.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think working at home is going to be more popular in the future. I think many big companies are saying, we can
Because it has
probably
been proven that it works.
yeah, we can probably cut down maybe about 50%. We can work at home, and the business still can be run, remotely. We're going to save a lot of operational expenses.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, if we don't work together to get the vaccine, what's going to happen? We're going to have some altercation. We're going to be quarreling with each other
That's right.
and see who's going to get the vaccine first. This is something I think
You
is
mean you're saying that there should be a joint ASEAN efforts on
Right.
this vaccine?
whether joint ASEAN effort or even in our own country in Thailand.
Right.
I think we need to make sure that we need to make sure that we can reserve enough doses for the Thai population or for the ASEAN population. We don't know who's going to come up with an affordable, accessible, reliable vaccine yet.
Yeah.
Could be Thailand.
Yeah, we are a few steps from
It
that.
could be Thailand, but could be other countries. Could be China. But what's going to happen is if we can get hold of these vaccines before anybody else, or about the same time, I think it'd be good for us.
Yeah, that's best. That's best case scenario.
So we need to make sure that we could do that.
And for back to Thailand, the Prime Minister raised the issue of new normal approach, and he would like to listen to every stakeholder.
Oh, the three things he talked about the other
That's
day?
right. The promises in
Yeah, the first one he talked about he wanted to make sure that people can.
You have a
Yes.
public participation.
And they
in
can advise him
formulating,
and all that. And number
policies.
two is to make sure that he, and the government works on the priorities for the country.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then the third one would be something that he would be going.
He wants
he'd be-
public participation
He'd be more
in
proactive.
evaluating, proactive,
Right,
and
right. And
inviting public participation in
Right.
assessing government's performance. Right?
Yeah.
Are you ready to do that in the business
I
sector?
think that's a good idea. But whether or not he could do it, that's different. That's a different matter altogether.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
just have to, find out. But let me commend his activities on the COVID-19. I think
Yeah.
he's done an impressive job. I think we owe it to the
Public
the
health,
he- yeah,
public health
you know,
sector.
the healthcare workers,
Yeah,
the healthcare professionals. They've done a marvelous job. And I think as we keep saying, do not lower our guard. And this is something very important. You've seen many examples from China, from Australia, New Zealand just a few days ago, South Korea.
Yeah.
This is something that is important. If we're not careful, if we're complacent, we are going to fall victim to our own success. And this is something that I think we have to be mindful of.
So it means business community are very much aware and perhaps support the government not to opening up too much too soon.
I would say, in fact, I agree with that. I think we should not open too soon. Some people, when your business has been shut for 3-4 months, you're eager to go out and do some business. But I think we need to be careful. If you open too soon, if you get the second wave, I
Back
think-
to square one.
back to square one, start all over again.
Yeah.
So this is something that I think we have to be careful. But I'm very, very happy that all the healthcare professionals, the doctors, these people are helping the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister is taking their recommendations, seriously.
Yeah.
That's something very good. If he takes the recommendation of the simply take the recommendation from the politicians, that's not going to be so good.
All right. So we have been patting ourselves in the back for the good things that we believe we have done. But how about our friends in ASEAN? Do they see things that way too, that we are doing a good job?
Yeah, I think everybody has been praising Thailand, and I think we got to live up to it. I think every country is trying to do the best they could do, but some fortunate incidents that could create some more cases that you're not aware of. That's something that, no control. But I think Thailand and a few other ASEAN countries have been doing very well in managing, controlling, and containing COVID-19. You look at Vietnam; they're also doing
not too
a
bad.
good job. Yeah. Right.
And how do you see the importance of ASEAN community at this very juncture? COVID-19, does it even help emphasize the importance of ASEAN community for the whole region?
Yeah, I think we have to be working together. This is the time that we really need to stick together. Because we say that if you don't stick together, you need to be hanging in together, or you'll be separately hanged.
Yeah, but the situation is quite different between Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, and then you have Malaysia, you have Myanmar, Cambodia, the other group.
Well, you're talking about a gap in
Yeah.
the economy, but I think if you are committed to coming together as one nation, one identity, one community, you got to do what you have promised. The population. We have 650 million people, or maybe more. I think we need to tell the world that ASEAN is ready to open up in a multilateral environment. I think this is something that we have to be mindful of. Why? Because today with protectionist policies, the trade war, it's even more important for us to look at regionalization of the world economy.
Yes.
And this region is a region that I think we can do something. I think a lot of people would like to come into ASEAN,
That's true.
to invest in ASEAN.
True. I think the main subject to be discussed at the ASEAN virtual summit will be, of course, the ASEAN response to the COVID-19 pandemic, right? So what kind of message do you think should come out of this summit that would be sort of portray ASEAN in the light that this grouping is certainly in charge of things, of situation? Yeah?
For us, for the ASEAN Business Advisory Council, we have a few items that we want to recommend to them to do immediately.
Yeah.
And I mentioned before the mass testing.
Yep.
We want also to, for the governments of ASEAN to remove and minimize NTBs, NTM, non-tariff barriers, non-tariff measures. I think it's time for to call for a moratorium for NTBs, NTM. Since we haven't been able to reduce NTBs, NTMs. And every time we look back, we see some more and more because of protectionist policies that's becoming clearer and clearer. We also want
You want to see a commitment to remove all those non-tariff barriers, right?
But I think the commitment is there, but the implementation hasn't been good enough to remove these NTMs and NTBs.
We need another commitment to implement.
We need a more serious effort, to get this thing done. Then we want customs automation, customs streamlining. We want the government to conclude our CEP. Whether or not India is going to be in, but let India have the opportunity to come in until the end of the year. That's what we're going to be recommending. Again, regionalization of world economy is important, and we need to get RCEP going.
Yeah.
We have a good one in place already, and that's ASEAN. Then we have to look at unhampered flow of essential goods and services. We want the borders to be open so we can trade, sell products and services. This is something that is quite important also, because if you do not allow essential goods to flow freely, like medical goods, essential goods that are needed in this trying times, it's going to create some problem. We always talk about connectivity. This is the time where we need to make sure that we can connect freely. Even though we have COVID-19 around, we don't know how long COVID-19 is going to be around. A lot of people say, okay, maybe until next year, but I think until we get a good, a reliable, accessible, affordable vaccine, then we can be a bit, more calm.
So these are your recommendations, but
Right.
what kind of expectation do you have?
Well, I think simply they will agree, in many of the recommendations that I think we're going to be making next week. I think I think it's this Friday on the 26th.
This week. Yeah.
But we only have about half an hour with the leaders in the evening. They meet all day on many issues, and I think a lot of issues will be focused in this COVID-19.
That's right.
So I'm sure that they'll be supportive, but the implementation, I think this time we're hopeful that it's going to be much faster than what they've been able to do in the past.
Because of new circumstances that we are facing.
Right.
So in fact, COVID-19 has disrupted regionalism like ASEAN or even strengthened ASEAN. What's your take?
We have to make it that way. We have to make it, instead of creating some problems with us, we have to take the opportunity to create something that's going to be beneficial to us, ASEAN. Mm-hmm. I think we have to look at ASEAN as a whole. Let's not take a look at only one country now that we want to be together, This is something that many people are saying, if you want to stay together, you have to act what you say. You do what you preach.
And
please.
for new generation who have lost their job, cannot find their jobs, the newly graduate from university, what's your advice for them to take advantage from ASEAN as much as they can?
This is a tough situation because you're talking about job losses around
Million.
Millions.
Yeah.
Thailand alone, I think it's going to be, I heard it's 7 to about 10 million jobs. But I think we need to be careful here because jobs could be available. You have to look at something new that you can do. You look at, for example, if you look at opportunities in online businesses, it's grown a lot. You look at the e-commerce, that's a thing to do. Healthcare services, related equipment, digital healthcare, and then we're going to have cleaner environment. Cleaner environment.
Yeah.
Now, these opportunities, you have to look at new normal and you do something different.
Yes.
You think, that's why we need what? R&D, we need innovation. And most importantly, I think we need to be looking at digital literacy of your population. You look at very simple, if you need to register in a smartphone, people who have no competency in using the smartphone will not be able to get into the registration process.
Right.
So this is something that's important, and I think we need to have good digital infrastructure to make sure that people can communicate through these high technology stuff.
The recommendations of the ASEAN leaders aside, is the COVID-19 in any way a wake-up call for yourself as a businessman and your colleagues in ASEAN rethink in things you're doing, the way things you're doing?
It's a wake-up call for sure. I mean, it's something, I think, something that tells you, hey, you need to have supply resiliency. Yeah? And that's going to help because you need to have the ability to monitor supply events. You have to have the capability to adapt on a timely basis. You need to collaborate with your customers and collaborate with your business partners. And I think every company should have a risk management in place. That one day you're going to be meeting with some of these crises that you've never seen before. So this is something that I think people would have to have in the strategies in trying to make sure that you can sustain your business longer term.
So that means new game during new normal.
New normal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much.
But one more topic besides the COVID-19 and ASEAN summit, this CPTPP, the Comprehensive and Progressive Trade Agreement for Pacific region. You have any thought on that? In Thailand, we're still
I'm not
arguing
very-
the pros and cons
I'm
of
not
the
very-
pact.
I'm not very much involved, but I think there's some people like it. Some sectors don't. I don't know. I don't really have the real number to say that okay, it's good, it's bad. But I'm sure there's some positive benefits. But I'm very concerned about the medical side. Because if you're talking about humanity, you need to make sure that medicines are cheap
That's right.
and people can get access to cheaper medicines. If you sell medicines at high cost, and it's going to be problematic if we're in,
It's true, yeah.
if we have to buy expensive medication.
And that's the major argument against the pact by critics of the pact.
So
Okay. All right.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kun Arin Jira, for joining
you.
us.